All right, hey guys, we haven't done one of these in a while. We thought we'd bring it out. Um, so, we're going to talk about the things you need to get done now that your proposal letters have been looked at. We've checked off on your topic. Now it's time to actually start getting into doing the research. All right, guys, so the goals for this video, at the end of the video, you'll understand the components you need to research your project. So, we're going to walk you through a sample there of what you need to do. You'll understand how to create a checklist to track your progress. We're going to break your research down into individual steps. So at the end of this video, you'll know how to do that. And you'll know the components of the research tracker we expect you to do. So we've got 3 goals for this video. You need to know what the components are, you'll have a checklist, and you'll have that research tracker. Before we get into it, I want to talk a little bit about the rationale. Why are we doing this video? Why are we going through this? So for any project to be successful, and remember, we are sending these to the people who can make the difference, who can make the change, who can okay it. For you to have your best chance at success, you need to be backed up by research. You need to have facts. You need to, if you're going to try and use our model, build a swimming pool, you can't just show up and say, hey, I want a swimming pool. You need to have reasons why. You need to have some research. So that's what we're going to do. This connects to Native Son and the idea of social conditioning. It affects all of us. We're conditioned by our environments, what's available to us, what's not available to us. And so this is a chance for you to kind of change that social conditioning that you experience in this area by making positive changes in your community. Maybe it's working on the skate park, getting a new rec center, getting a Boys and Girls Club, changing MLK so it's more effectively educating, things like that. So this is your chance to do that. So your first step now, after you've done your proposal letter, which you guys have done, we've looked at, made some comments on, is you need to start thinking about, okay, what do I need to research? What do I need to convince these people? So you always start again with your driving question. So here I've got my driving question from the sample. How do we build a pool for Willow Springs because families need a public pool in the neighborhood? So how do I guide my research? What do I need to research? Well, I need to look into who's in charge, who's responsible for pools in this neighborhood, who can make the decision, who provides the money, things like that. I need to look at how much money is it going to cost. Pools aren't free. I need to know if I'm going to show up and say, hey, I need you guys to build a pool, one of their questions is going to be, well, how much money is it? So I need to look into that. They're going to want to know, where does this money come from? Is the community going to donate? Or am I suggesting we raise taxes? Am I getting businesses to foot the bill? Things like that. They're going to want to know why. What are the benefits? Why do we need this pool in the neighborhood? And then I need to think about and research, what would their arguments against it be? Why would they tell me no? And then I need to address those issues before they have the chance to tell me no. So anytime you're trying to convince someone, you always want to think about, why would they say no, and argue those points before they make them. So using our sample here, building the pool in Willow Springs, kind of breaking it out, what do I need to research? So who's in charge? Well, one, I need to go talk to the city council. They're going to be in charge of pools and things like that. I'm going to need to talk to homeowners because I'm asking to put a pool in their neighborhood where they live, building, construction, things like that, so they need to sign off on it. I need to establish if there's a need. So I need to talk to neighbors if they want a pool. There's no sense even arguing for a pool if I'm the only one who wants it. Local businesses, will they support it? Will they get behind it? Maybe give some money, donate, things like that. Money. I need to look into similar neighborhoods. Have similar neighborhoods done something like this? How much did it cost there? How much money will it cost to keep the pool going? So there's the initial cost of building it, but then I need to think about, well, who keeps paying for it after it's built? Who pays for lifeguards, things like that, cleaning it, all of that stuff. And then where does the money come from? So you need to do some research into what's the city budget, how much money do they have? Are there grants available? Can you get this money through donations, things like that? Benefits, you can look at crime stats. Is there a lot of crime in the area where you're trying to build the pool? Would this pool help prevent crime because kids would have something to do rather than go out and cause problems? I would look at studies on neighborhood engagement. What are the benefits of communities coming together around a central meeting place like a pool or something like that? And I would try and find some similar situations. What are other neighborhoods that have done something like this? As for the arguments against, the first argument against they would probably have is it's too expensive. They would say we don't have the money, it costs too much, there's already a pool about 15 minutes away, so you just need to use that one. So I would need to be ready to argue against both of those points. Why is it not too expensive? Why is the pool that's only 15 minutes away not good enough? They would argue that it's only going to get 4 months of use. So maybe I argue, well, that's why you need to build an indoor pool so it can be used year round. And they would probably argue that they have more important projects, whether that's parks, traffic lights, repaving streets, whatever. They'll probably have more important projects than putting a pool in my neighborhood. So these are all things I need to research. So once you've figured out kind of what you need to research, you go ahead and cross off that, and your next step is going to be to create a checklist of what actual things, broken down step by step, are you going to research. This checklist is going to be both electronic and hard copy. We're going to post it on the wall so everyone can kind of see your progress, so we can keep track of where you're at. And so you can see here, I took all the stuff I figured out from the last slide, and I just kind of put it into a checklist. So I need to find out, who are my city council members? Who do I need to talk to? Who's the city council member that's responsible for my specific neighborhood? How do I contact them? And then at a certain point, I'm actually going to contact them, whether through email or a phone call. When does the city council meet? Is there a homeowners association? And if so, who's the leader? When are their meetings? I need to poll the neighbors. I need to figure out again, do they even want this pool? Am I the only one? And then we start getting into the finances and things like that. And you can see down here, your counter arguments are a separate checklist. So this is just kind of a step-by-step thing of what research do I need to do. So as I go through and I figure out who are my city council members, I can just check it off. I can figure out my specific one, how I contact them, and then as I go through, I'm just checking boxes off. So once you've gone through and broken down your research, you've created your checklist, so we can check another thing off our goal here and move on to the next step. So the final step for today and the next few classes is just simply doing research. But we need a place to track your research. So Ms. Williams, Mr. Smith, and myself can keep track of what you're doing, look at your research, what you found, things like that. So we've shared out with you in your drive a document that's going to serve as your research tracker. It has all of these components labeled for you, so you can just go through and add them. So you're going to have your driving question, your product. That product is, what are you producing at the end of this project? So you can see from my sample, my product would be a one-page summary and then a presentation I would give to the city council. That would be my thing. Yours might be a video and a paper, or just a paper, or a presentation, or a painting and a presentation, or something like that. So that's what the product is. And then your audience, that's that who can make this happen. It's not going to be Miss Williams or Mr. Smith or myself. It needs to be someone who can actually take your project and make it a reality. We're going to be sending these to these people. This is a real-life application of your skills. Then you have your checklist that you created about breaking your research down. So you can see here, this is just my checklist from the last step. Then you actually get into doing your research. So first thing on my checklist was I needed to figure out who my city council members were. I went to Google, typed in city council members for the city of Morrison. Here's what I found. So now I can go ahead and check that off my checklist. My next step would be, who's my specific city council member? So I would look into what neighborhoods do these people represent. Maybe Todd McCord's my specific city council member. So then I can check off the next one. And then contact them. How do I get a hold of him? What am I going to say to him? Maybe I write him and say, hey, I would like to talk about putting a pool in my neighborhood. What kind of information would you guys need from me to make that happen? And he'll send back, here's what we would need, or here's how you go about doing that. So I could contact him and then check that off. So that's what you're doing on this document. You're putting together the research, you're checking off your steps. So hopefully this video's given you what you need. Our goal, remember, was to understand the components you need to research your project. Our swimming pool model kind of showed that, so we should be able to cross that out. You should be able to understand the checklist, breaking down your research into individual steps that we can put on the wall and track your progress. We showed you a sample of that. And then your research tracker, which we gave you a template in your drive that you just start filling out. That's where you're doing your research. So we've got that. So your next steps is to start creating that checklist. You need both a hard copy and that electronic one that's going to go in the research tracker. You need both of them. And then you just need to start doing your research. Remember, we are really sending these off. So this is going to be a representation of you. When we send this to these people, it's going to have your name attached to it. So you want to make sure that it looks like you took this seriously, you put in the effort, and that's why we were saying you want to pick something you really wanted to accomplish. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and email myself or Miss Williams or Mr. Smith, and we'll see you next class.